action, so we're good to go.
Right.
Okay, very good.
All the recorders in place and our video technographer is in place too. So welcome each of you for the second meeting of the renaming committee. Thank you for giving up some time and talent. We think the agenda will move us forward to make a decision and get recommendations to the board for their purview and action. So the agenda first calls for a little information about changes in membership. So we're going to turn to staff and kind of give us an update on membership. That will be followed by the next item. We will not take any action on the minutes. We'll just move forward on the next third item on the agenda. So bring us up to speed on membership changes, if any.
Okay, I just want, the committee to know that that after several weeks of trying, we went through our alternate people. And we also had a couple of people from GHC tried to join, but they couldn't stay. And we are actually officially down to 11 people, and the Board of Education president has okayed us to go forward with the 11 people. I just wanted you to know that there were health issues and other personal and business things that made the membership shift a little bit. Also want you to be aware that Dr. Anu Abbey, who is the Associate Superintendent for Elementary, Anu, if you could, yeah, thank you. Just want to introduce her. She is the person the administrator who is behind this work at the MMSD, taking the place of Chelsea Tubbs.
Right. Excellent. Welcome, Dr. Anu. All right. Thank you for that. Thank you for that update. Any questions or clarifications for Barb on the update regarding membership? All right. Seeing none, let us keep moving forward.
Mr. Jones, could I just say, I just want to make sure that people were able to access the minutes, that you were able to see them on board docs. Okay, I just wanted to make sure everybody saw them. Okay.
So, but as we move forward and we do acquire a quorum, we'll come back to this particular item, which does require action by the committee, but in a quorum format. So third item on the agenda has to do with public comments submitted to date. If there's any information that meets that agenda item.
So I'm just going to, again, show you where that is located in board docs on the agenda. I can pull out the document here. It has not changed.
Gotcha.
Since our 6/17 meeting, it is simply a list of all the public input that we have received via the website since the committee actually started and before that. So it's from February 7, 2023 through September 3rd, 2024, and there has been no update since September 3rd.
Right. And so I would encourage members at your leisure, do take some time and maybe peruse it, read it for your own information. So that could be good. Thank you, Barb, for that one. Item 4, update on research for each proposal name. And this is where I think Gail is going to bring overview about her role, how she can assist us going forward. So you got it, Gail.
Here we go. Hello. Barb, just a question. Is this where you want me to talk about the ones that are not deceased, or just give an overview?
Just an overview.
Just an overview?
Would be great.
Right. Yeah. And then next will be into the next phase.
Okay. That's right. Yeah.
So what I do is provide research on the individuals and names that are submitted. But some of this is pending the committee's decision on who to bring forward, rather than bringing forward all, how many there are. So rather than me spending my time researching people that are not going to be brought forward into actual, consideration beyond a certain level. But I also try to facilitate pronunciations of names if you need that. There may be a need to, I've been doing research on ones that are not deceased. and also verifying that others are deceased. And if the board wishes, I can provide a deceased date for them, if that would work for you. I'm also, because there's so many proposals, I'm also, and I will have that probably yet tonight, and I'll give it to Barb. I'm developing a Word document that has first categories, people, place names, and other. And then within those categories, I'm organizing them in alphabetical order, indicating, and that's where I would put the deceased, indicating how many proposals there are per person, and also the proposal number and the page number. So I think that will help people locate them all. There's a lot, yes, there's a
Right.
lot. So I'm hoping that'll help, you know, bring some organization to this. So, but otherwise, if anyone has any questions or they have some comment later on during the process, you want something specifically researched, more information. But what you'll have after you come up with your cuts is basically, and Barb will facilitate this, a folder with just a lot of information on it, like an obituary or news articles and different kinds of things that provide you research on the people. Obviously, there's a difference between how much one is able to find with local people versus national people. So, you know, that's part of it too, to keep in mind on that. But that'll be something that will be coming. But hopefully yet tonight or maybe tomorrow, there'll be that, Barb will send out that list that will index and help with that. Is there any questions or anything else you'd like me to?
Good, right?
Right? Okay, I'll just,
Questions for Gail right now? Seeing none, so don't leave, Gail, because you'll be a part of our upcoming conversation.
oh no, I won't
All right.
leave, but I will disappear. How's that?
Okay,
Okay.
all right. So in planning this meeting, I think we wanted to take great pain and really get us all feeling good about our role as laid out by the board through its policy. So what we want to do now is take a real good look together at the board policy and what they intend, what their intent was, what they expect, and so forth. So what I asked Barb to be prepared to do is to share her screen and put the board policy up. So we want to just walk through that and get a real sense of what it said. I had to do the old school way and just print it off for myself, you all. But so we want to have that conversation, and what we like for that to do is provide us, as I said, the background information on the policy, help us think through how we will apply that to the various proposals that have come in, and then how does that policy help us whittle down, cut down the number of apps by saying what's easily in, what's easily out, that kind of a thing. But to begin with, what we wanted, can you all see it? Is it large enough for you? Okay, hopefully you can see it, can read it. And I wanted to begin with the very first statement under the policy. The copy I have says the proposal for naming an MMSD building policy, except as provided in board policy 3661 and 6701, an MMSD building will be named after the name has been researched, reviewed, subjected to public comment, and approved by the Board of Education. MMSD schools are named for prominent national or local figures who are deceased, locally significant geographical sites, places of local significance, or ideas or concepts which represent a broadly respected community value. So that is the overall policy, and we wanted to take a little time and have you all comment or think about it or react to it. So as I understand it, school building can be named after a prominent national or local figure who is deceased. Is that clear to each of us? Questions? Someone could raise the question, how long? We could get into that, but the policy doesn't say that. It just says deceased. It doesn't put a timeline on how long they had to been deceased or not. And this is the policy we work on. Secondly, locally significant geographical sites. Does that trigger any kind of thoughts, any kind of questions, any kind of reaction? Locally significant geographical sites. The Arboretum, that's a locally significant geographical site. Those kinds of things. So if that's pretty clear, I think we all can agree. So we would be looking for that once the submitter identifies that as a category of the proposal. Places of local significance. Seems pretty clear. Any questions or thoughts on that particular standard? Seeing none. Ideas or concepts which represent a broadly respected community value. Lots of community values, respect, love, and so forth. But I think the beginning of that particular standard, ideas or concepts which represent that broadly accepted value, is doesn't seem to be too confusing, but we want you to have an opportunity to think about that, talk about that, raising the questions that you might have going forward. Right? Hearing none. All right, let us keep moving. Now that's the policy proportion of the rule. Then it comes to the procedure. And I thought what I would do here, one is, Barb, can you make yours a little bit bigger? Because I'm just going to follow where I started by just kind of reading through it, opening up the floor for any questions, comments, and thoughts. Okay. All right.
That's
So
a little big.
that's as big as you can get? Okay. So what it says is the Board of Education shall seek proposed names for a new building from the public. The Board of Education may also seek proposed names to rename an existing building from the public. The public shall be given a minimum of 30 days to submit. If you all recall, that was one of the things Barb talked about, the waiting time to get going on scheduling meetings and so forth. Item 2, individuals or groups proposing a name must submit to the superintendent of schools answers to and documentation regarding the following questions. What individuals or groups are proposing the name? What is the proposed name? B, Madison Metropolitan School District schools may be named after a prominent national or local figure who is deceased. It goes to those same policy guidelines. A locally significant geographical site, a place of local significance, or an idea or concept which represents a broadly respected community value, civic value, community value, into which these categories does the proposed name fall. They have to tell us. If the proposed name is of a prominent local or national figure who is deceased, describe why the person is considered prominent. The board goes on to say and define. Prominent is defined as widely and popularly known. It's the only definition they give to prominence. D, if the proposed name is a prominent local or national figure who is deceased, what is the significance of the person specifically to the Madison Metropolitan School District that it should choose to name a school for this particular person over other similar prominence? E, if the proposed name is a locally significant geographical site or a place of local significance, what is the significance to the Madison Metropolitan School District, for which the reason the Madison Metropolitan School District choose to name a building for the particular geographical site or place of local significance. F, if the proposed name is an idea or concept, which is a broadly respected community value, what is the significance of this ideal concept to the Madison Metropolitan School District? For what reason would the Madison Metropolitan School District choose to name a building for this particular idea or concept? And then it goes into time after submitting the names and so forth. I didn't think that I wanted to read the following areas, but the first two categories really describes what we're looking for. So we want to spend a little time giving you the opportunity to address or respond to those statements that are prescribed under procedure, which I just read, items 1 and 2, but not 3, 4, and 5. All right. Any thoughts, questions, concerns so far? All right. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is ask Barb to stop sharing the screen, and then we'll begin to just ask everybody a couple of basic questions before we begin to talk about or hear conversation about the proposal. So did everyone have a chance to begin to review the proposals? There you go. All right. So Ed, you did? Okay. Just scanning the room. So, all right. So, well, let's have a little conversation before we get into individual proposals. Just share your thoughts, and so did Ben. Your thoughts, reactions, or ideas now about moving forward to evaluate them based on board policy.
Before we move forward, there were several names on that list that I got, and one was, of course, the school name itself that is present, the Southside Elementary School.
Okay.
That name itself was proposed, and I thought it was negated because it was not properly introduced. Am I correct, Gail?
I can take that. I think I want
Barb?
to clarify, Mr. Murray, I want to make sure I understand. So the name of the school right now was given that name by the administration so that we would be able to identify it with the State Department of Public Instruction. It was never officially named in the community like other buildings have, and there are various reasons for that, but it never got officially named in this way following this board policy because the board paused the process for a whole year while they were hiring the superintendent and a couple of other things that were going on. So we did start it in 2023, but then but we paused it for a year, and the building is already in existence, but it's never been officially named through this policy process.
Gotcha.
And I took that to mean when you say not properly introduced, one of the things I observed about one of the submitters is it didn't state the significance. So that was one of the requirements in board policy. It said, tell us this. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what
Yeah,
I'm saying.
that's
Okay.
I have that noted on. I hear you. Gotcha. Okay. Well, I think this is a good beginning of the discussion. So did I see that was Ben? Was it your hand next?
Ben, we can't see you. Can you put your video on, please?
Okay. Can you?
I am. I will have it on in just a moment. I'm finishing bringing a child home from
Oh,
soccer
I'm
practice.
sorry. Okay.
Okay. All
But no,
right.
I was just acknowledging that I had reviewed the documents.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. All right. So, any others having any reactions or comments to your early review of the documents? Okay. All right. Well, let's go forward. There were a couple other items that I wanted to make. If you what Barb has done, and I kind of did the same thing, is when you look at the total number of submissions, 175. A great number of those submissions was for one individual, Lori Mann. So what we want to now talk about is how do you all want to approach reviewing these apps when one of them, really 56, I believe, is for Lori Mann. Let's talk about how we want to address that issue first, and then we'll go back to addressing submissions, whether it's 1, 2, or 3, or just submitters. So given that we've got a huge number for one entity or one proposal or one individual, how would you like to move forward on that particular issue? Just thoughts and ideas.
In reviewing that one, it met most of the criteria of what the MMSD is looking for when we rename a building.
Right.
I thought it was very significant that it did meet the criteria. Other than that, I think it was fair in how it was submitted and everything. So I would like to maybe propose that at least that name goes into the pot from the very top because of the way it was submitted. That was just my opinion.
Gotcha. Nope, no, that's fair. But it would be submitted as the one name. Then there were variations to the name. Some said,
I know that was the part that
that's I'm wondering, how do we handle that?
I don't know about that part, but yeah, I thought it was kind of different that all of the other names were pretty much cut and dry, but they had several ways that they wanted the name to be introduced by other individuals, which confused me.
Right. And I think because what I was thinking about last night was, as we apply the rubric, which we do have, and we have to submit complete that rubric for evaluating all of the schools. My question to Barb was, all right, so we have a collection of 56 names. One, let's say, call it Lori Mann,
Yeah, yeah.
How do we, in terms of the rubric, is it fair, and we want to be fair and neutral here, is it fair to submit the Lori Mann's name one time with a combined evaluation from each of us, or do we have to do it 56 times individually?
That's a really great question.
I was struggling with that one last night.
The answer is probably going to be difficult. Unfortunately, because all of those people that submitted a proposal for that name are unique. You
Yeah,
really have to respond to each and every one of them. And in the end, we'll come up with a legal name for Lori Mann Carey, as if that rises to that occasion, yes. But yes, unfortunately, they all have to be evaluated and scored
individually. Okay, all
and
right.
Then you can come up with one proposal that hopefully the committee agrees to bring forward as one proposal. Does that make sense?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, but we'd have to get to that point, right?
Yes.
All right. Well, I wanted to ask that one of the group because there were so many submissions, quite a few on her behalf. And I thought what we need to do then, okay, is set that aside and then maybe come back to the other submissions that are there. So, so it sounds like we got to move forward. Then I thought I'd ask the group, okay, given that we've started the review individually, we've got the rubric, how would you like to proceed this evening in terms of beginning the review of the and deliberations on the proposals? But before you do, Barb, are you able to give us a complete rundown as to how many about the other submissions? If there was 2 for Barack Obama, 3 for 1 Lopez, that kind of a thing. Were you able to complete that kind of overview just to give us a report?
Yes, but I don't really have that electronically. I have it in front of me. I can share it with you that way if you want orally.
Sure.
But I think
right.
But go ahead.
I would say yes, just to give them a feel for the volume outside of Lori Mann. We know that's we know that's a lot.
Right.
But sure, go ahead. Oh,
So outside of Lori Mann Carey, then we're Lori Carey Mann. I'm sorry, I don't know which
Gail,
way that
Gail
is
has,
myself. Yeah.
Gail has her hand up.
she has that.
That index that I'm gonna be submitting also identifies how many proposals are with each name.
Okay.
So
Yours-
that will be coming. I
Right.
did group some of them like Southside and, a bunch of them like
As
that.
you rock. Okay.
That should be in there. That will be in there.
All right.
And I can give you an oral update right
Okay.
now if you want. Great.
Let's do it. It shouldn't take long.
Okay.
Let's do
No.
it. Okay.
So the highest one was 8, and that was for Badger Rock, Rock Side or that category.
Okay.
Another one with 8 was South or Southside.
Okay.
And the next biggest one I think was 3. So Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and Milt McPike, Nine Springs, Richard Davis, Shirley Abrahamson, and Stephanie Bernard.
Okay.
And the next were 2 proposals each: Ada Deer, Capitol Springs, Percy Green, Gene Parks, Goodman, Harriet Tubman, Juan Jose Lopez, Marlene Cummings, Martin Luther King Jr. And that's it.
Okay. So right. So go ahead, Ed.
No, I just need to see that in writing.
Yeah.
If I could see it, view it, whatever you do when you do that. I think that will give us a little bit more where I can narrow down how I
Mhm.
can.
Okay.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. So so I don't want to overwhelm the staff, but Barb, if yours is ready for sending, which is not going to contain all the information that Gail has, could you send it out to the committee either tonight or tomorrow? And then Gail, yours is going to be more complete. Am I saying that right? More information, not complete. Am I saying that right?
Yes. And that should be soon, either tonight yet or tomorrow, probably.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Now,
Absolutely.
go ahead,
Okay.
Barb.
Yeah, I agree. We'll send it out one way or the other in the next day or 2 at the
All
most.
right. Okay. So that will give the committee as much information to start with for your background, for background purposes. Okay. All right. So that was one of the things. How do we want to proceed? What's the volume that we are expected to review? Then there was a couple of other areas of questions that came to my mind, but I certainly want to give you all the opportunity to raise questions about the process, the evaluation going forward. The 2 things that I thought about going forward was, okay, we know that some of the individuals submitted were not deceased. School board policy, the first thing they say is a permanent presidency. Now, there you go, Ed. So let us open up the door and make sure we're on the same page. Let's talk about this proposal or proposals that have been submitted and the people are not deceased. So are they upfront out, in, debatable? What do you think? Let's go with Ben first. Tell us, Ben, what you think.
I mean, it either meets their criteria or it does not, right?
Okay.
So if they don't meet the criteria of being deceased, then I think they aren't for consideration.
All right. So this is good for Gail to hear now, right, Gail? She's with us. All right, Ed, you had a point. Go ahead. Okay. All right. Go ahead, Charles.
I agree with Ben. I think
All right.
that it should be a deceased person.
All right. So as I said, Gail needs to hear that. So when she begins to whittle it down going forward, that she's okay. So that was one.
So-
Go ahead. Bob.
I'm sorry, Gail has to bring forward everything, but the information that she will give you will include the people who
are
are
deceased.
deceased or who are not deceased. So you'll
All
know
right.
exactly who they are and how many there are.
Gotcha. All right.
So the
Yeah.
only people that can take anything off the table are the committee.
Because I saw going through the proposals, one person was submitted And one of the submitters said they were deceased, and the other one said were not. So it's like, okay, that's one where we'd have to really verify and go through it. So it's those kinds of hiccups that I think Gail will pick up.
Well, I can tell you who's not deceased if you want me to do that right now.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. Glory, and when Barb and I discussed it, they needed to be deceased at the time the proposal was submitted.
Submitted, okay.
Okay. So, and just in case, Gloria Ladson Billings is not deceased.
Right.
Geraldine Bernard is not, these are Madison people.
All right.
Geraldine Bernard is not deceased.
Hmm.
Sandra Brown is not deceased.
Yeah.
Christine Hodge is not deceased per the proposal. I couldn't find her. The proposal identifies her as not being deceased.
Yeah.
Let's see. Helen McLean, I have no information on. I don't know if she's deceased or not. I can't find her beyond 1968. Madison School may have personnel files that could indicate, but otherwise I can't find it.
Okay.
Helen McLean is not is a very common name. Jonathan Roberts is probably not deceased. It indicates he's a 2017 graduate. It's a very strong possibility the name was misspelled in the proposal.
Okay.
I can't tell. Pleasant Rowland is not deceased. Tony Evers is not deceased. Those are the Madison ones. Barack Obama is not deceased.
Right.
Ruby Bridges is not deceased.
I'd never heard that name, but go ahead. Right.
Ruby Bridges.
Yeah. That's a
Little
local.
Rock. Integrate.
That's what I read for Madison.
I know you have.
That name doesn't exist in Madison. Gotcha.
Yeah. These are not Madison people. Right. And then Colby Lee is a current professional basketball player. He is not deceased either.
Okay.
So those are the.
Did you get Governor Evers on your list?
I had Tony. Tony Evers. Yeah.
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 Okay. I was following my little notes here going forward. Okay. So,
okay, but those will also
those will be in there, but that sounds like a dozen or so that we're gonna have to spend time reviewing. But I see what you're saying. The information will come forward, but shouldn't be reviewed by the committee.
Well, there's 11 of them, but 2 of them I will make special note. The Jonathan Roberts can't find, probably not the right spelling, and Helen McLean won't be able to find out about. I did look into her. Her husband worked for John Flad, Henry R. McLean. I don't think they live in Madison, and I can't bring them up on genealogy websites as being deceased. So they're probably not.
One of them that the name that was proposed was Glory of the Morning. I have a question mark by that because I mean this sounds like it could be some Native American language that I have to learn. And it was a female chief of the Winnebago tribe, but I couldn't determine if this person was deceased or not. I couldn't quite.
Yeah. She died in 1832.
I was trying to get some dates and things, so that would be another one.
I will put those on the list, but yeah, no, she's been deceased for a long time.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Now, all right. So that's one of the pieces that I think Gail will bring forward. But the other requirement was that they provide a statement of significance for the school board to consider that particular individual or place or location than others. What do you think when they do not, or some of the applicants do not provide, go to Ben first, a statement of significance? How should they be treated?
How did I get so lucky? Again, I mean, I think it comes down to policy, right? If there's not a statement of significance, if we're not being given criteria to consider, I don't think as a committee we can responsibly receive or move, on that recommendation without context.
And my thought, and now I'm gonna go around the group getting your sense on this one, but my thought was, in some of the way it's written, while it might not follow what you think is a clear statement of significance, they may have something there. So my question is to Barb, when we get to answer that question or meet the board policy on significance, is it the individual members who need to state, hey, there's a statement of significance, I agree with the statement of significance, I don't agree, or no statement of significance in the proposal? Is that the committee thing? I don't think it's Gail's, because Gail is just going to be doing research on the individual.
Right, yeah,
Go
but just want to clarify, Gail makes no judgments about any of them. Her
Right.
role is to just do research, but
Right.
yeah, so the committee can decide if you don't have a questions that are filled out by the proposer. The committee can decide, is that something that we're just going to automatically throw out, or you can keep it in if you want to. It is up to the committee as a group.
All right. So let's have a little more thought on that. When we heard from Ben saying that's policy. And I'm gonna Alkeisha.
Yes, thank you.
You are. What do you think? Thanks for joining us.
Yes, sorry. I don't know. Something's on the belt line. They have a lot of exits
Tell me
blocked
about it.
off. So
Oh,
Tell me
no.
about it.
yeah, so sorry about that, everyone.
Oh, you
I do believe that more or less that we would bring it back to the committee if there is information that is not significant enough, or the person that filled out the form did not fill it completely out. Again, we would bring it to the committee, and I would say just do more of a rubric on exactly like what percent. So should it be 0 because they did not apply that information to it? Or if there is the same name for the school, maybe we could use some of that documentation from somebody else that was able to fill it out or to be able to provide that information. So I would take that in consideration if it's the same name, but maybe somebody else has more dialogue for it. But that's how I would proceed.
All right. And I think as we go forward, you all will get a better feel how to think about that and apply it. So that seems reasonable as far as being fair and neutral to the process. Okay. Well, those are some things I thought about as I went through. So we're just going to open it up, and for other thoughts on the evaluation criteria as the board is laid out, that you may Barb may not have touched on yet, Gail may not have touched on, and members may not have touched on. So oh, that's Barb. What you got, Barb?
I'm sorry, I do have one more. There are 2 items, proposals that are not really proposals, they're really comments.
Oh
So
yeah.
they're not really official. There's 2 of them, number 18 and number 71. So I just wanted to mention that to be sure that everybody was aware of that. So when we come to the next meeting, we'll have a really nice list of all of these that you're talking about tonight, so that you know exactly which ones they are, and what the criteria are, and whether they've been met or not. And then you'll have your list of people that are deceased or not. So you're gonna have a lot that you're gonna be able to take care of at the next meeting, probably pretty quickly, because you'll see that they either don't fit the criteria at all, or whatever the committee decides from there.
All right. So that's
Number 8, yeah, you said number 18.
uh,
Yeah, I saw that one and I automatically put no on.
yeah,
So, but yeah, and the other one was
71.
71. Right. Okay. So that gives us some grounding, I think some active grounding into really taking a look at what the board policy is prescribing as far as the policy statement itself and the procedure. So I think those two, this conversation has been helpful to me to really understand it as I go through these things now. So the thing that I didn't mention a whole lot of is Barb sent out the rubric after our first, might have been before our first meeting. So that's the document where all of this stuff will drill down and we actually enter it. So what I was going to ask on that one, Barb, is that each member will complete a rubric on each submission, and that will be submitted to you or to someone else at the district, and your job then will be to bring it all together and develop what I call a final ranking.
I'm sorry, let me clarify.
Go ahead.
No, those scoring sheets are not shared with us at all. Those are for individual members to keep as you do your deliberations. So no, they do not get shared with anybody at the district. It's merely to help each member be able to speak to it as it comes up.
Good point, because that brings me to my last querying question, which was, what do we want to send the board as a final recommendation? And we need to talk about that a little bit now. Don't write it in stone because it may change as you all go through this evaluation. But if I remember correctly, we talked about getting to the board 4 separate entities. And what would be those entities? Individuals, locations, like we say in the standards, or one for each category. Because if we go back to board policy, they've got 4 categories that they're looking for in those proposals. So my question was, as you think about it now, and I know it's early, what do you think? What do you feel we'd like to end up? And it's only a recommendation right now. It's not written in stone. What do you think we want to send to the board? Or do you have enough information to address that question tonight? What do you think we want to send to the board? And I'll just go back over. National or local figures who are deceased, 1. Locally significant geographical sites, 2. Places of local significance, 3. Or ideas and concepts which represent broadly respected community. Those are the 4 major policy goals. I call them policy goals that they prescribed. What do you think? Does it matter? Too early to talk about it? Let's start with Chow this time. What do you think?
I think it's too early to talk about it. I just
Okay.
like to get more,
That's
more
fair.
info and more, I don't know. I need the whole picture, I guess.
That's fair. Okay.
I think
Go ahead.
I'm
Bob.
sorry, I'd just like to clarify for a second. So the policy prescribes that the committee brings forward 4 names minimally because it's a new building. So that's a little different than an existing building. What the policy does not prescribe is, I'm sorry, back up. Okay, so 4 names and 2 of them have to be people. So the other can be concept or geographic or whatever. But the policy does not prescribe that the committee cannot rank those. So I know that the Board of Education members would prefer that the committee probably rank those 4 names so that they know what your feelings are about those. But
Okay.
again, you are not required to do that. It is not policy driven, but I'm just telling you what when it comes down to it, 4 names.
Gotcha. Okay. And 2 being individuals. So that's a good clarification, something to keep in mind going forward. All right. Any follow-ups for Barb on that particular item under discussions, deliberations? Seeing none. Okay. All right. Well, again, let's open it up to the group. Any other thoughts, concerns going forward? Okay, seeing none. All right. So what we did earlier, I did ask the question if you all had had an opportunity to begin talking about the proposals. Some of you have dived into them, kind of read them. So I'd like to take this time to think about, let's use the remaining part of the deliberations as what I call a pretest. For those of us who read a few of the proposals, let's begin to have a little dialogue conversation. It doesn't have to be final, but just kind of get a feel for where we're going with it. So, so now what I'm going to ask Barb to do, 1, if you can share, or if you give me the ability to share I can pull the proposals up on the table, and I just want to begin with proposal 1, and take a quick look at it and have a little discussion about them. So, are you able to, Barb?
Sure can, 1 second.
All right. So, but like I said, remember this as a pretest. It's not not the final gag. There we go. All right. So, all righty. Okay. So, hope you all can see it, and just to have a little discussion. So, this proposal comes from Brent Nicastro. That's the name of the submitter, and the proposed name of the building is South Elementary. And then they tell us again what category the proposed name falls under. They call it locally significant geographical site. All right. Then they go on, the submitter goes on to say, Madison's Southside is unique and has its own identity. Rather than trying to identify a single individual to name the school after, it seems to me a better option is to simply name it for the area it will serve. All right. So for those of you who's dived into this proposal, took a look at it, how do you rate it? I'll open up the door. Any thoughts, reactions, conversations? Yes. Okay. Well, it looks like it's my time to start. All right, here we go. When I read this proposal, I wrote down, okay, they do give me a name. The individual submitting it is identified, and it falls under the locally significant geographical site. And I wrote down it does give significance. However, this is just my evaluation now. It doesn't have to be you all. I said, so it's going to say, number 1, that it meets, because I'm looking for a relationship between the statement of significance and the proposed name, proposed category. So if you tell me that it's a locally significant geographical site, I'm looking for you to tell me in the statement of significance why. So I read this and say Madison Southside is unique, don't disagree, has its own identity, true, rather than trying to identify a single individual to name the school after. It seems to me we name it after the area. This is where I was looking for them to tell me what they mean by area. Boom, 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 boom. That kind of thing, that this area represents, history, growth, economic development, da 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 da. So I was looking for some relationship that was that's just me. But you got to take what they submitted. Go ahead, Ed.
The next thing that I looked at significant areas in the South Side that were named, like the Southside Raiders.
All right.
You understood I understood exactly what that meant. And that was proposed for the name for that particular area of the kids that are playing football in that area. So I couldn't find anything that would go other than they just said Southside.
Okay.
So to me, it was not high on the list for me to say yay or nay to it either. But I don't have a particular category that I could put that in because of very significant things like you're speaking.
Big time. So, but that's the way, and I think the value of bringing different people together with different thoughts is that we all come together on it, because it's right. Because I kept thinking, well, look, there's a lot of significance around that area on the South Side, Lake Farm Parks, Rimrock, all of that stuff. There's a whole lot that, but that was just me. And I think what the board, even though the board didn't say in the policy, give us examples, I think they were kind of inferring that. So, but this is what I think, this is just one reviewer. I know that I took off. So, but I just wanted to start having some conversation among us on this. So thank you for that one, Barb. And I don't know, just move down the list, and we don't have to go in numerical order, but move a few down and stop at number 5. I'll see what's out there at 5. Oh, now I'm looking at my notes. All right. Okay. All right. So now here's one. So number 5, the individual submitting the proposal is named. She's there. She gives the name of the school, Gene Parks. What category? Prominent local figure who is deceased. It does follow that. And then they go with if the proposed name is a prominent individual, national, local, who is deceased, describe why this person is considered prominent. Okay, and this is where I think some of the submitters spend a lot of time writing their statements, which is fine. Others may have been short and brief. So to answer that question, her statement is, he stood up and spoke out for African Americans in Madison. True, no disagreement. He stood up and was a figure, a well-known figure in the community. And it goes on to say that if the school district, why should the school district choose this person? And he refers us back to the earlier statement. So here again, while it is the person identified the person submitting is identified, name of school is given, no argument with the statement. He stood up, but here again, you would wonder, okay, stood up. You would think that they could have gone a little deeper. I see your head. Go ahead. So I'll stop there and let's have a little conversation about that.
I know Gene Parks personally. Gene Parks did a lot more than just stood up. You know, he was a state rep. He worked for the state.
Yep.
He did a lot more than people realize. He fed people when they needed. I mean, I watched this man and the work that he did in the community itself. He supported other businesses because he was a businessman. There are several things that could have been said to this. I mean, I can't add to it.
Nope.
But I have to detract that they did not put that in there. That would be more significant to me had they really expounded a little bit more about Gene Parks. So, I mean, it's not high on my list because of the fact it's not meeting the criteria like it should. There are some in there that wrote on individuals, and the statements are similar to what I'm talking about. They spoke about the person or the individual and what they did in the community as well. Or in the one that was national, what they did through their lifetime that supported. So, I don't know.
Nope, I'm with you. Now, I'm just looking for hands because I don't want to omit anybody. But Gene Parks is going to be recommended again later in our proposals. And that recommendation is a little more complete than this one. So my question was, I didn't intend to land on this one, but my question to Barb is, okay, so Barb, now once we complete our review and we complete the rubric, and let's say that in my review, this is only Greg's review, that I end up number 5, having it rated lower than others. And then if I don't know which number it is, but the later one, let's say number 101, Gene Parks is written better, more complete, more comprehensive, and I rate that one higher. Again, the board doesn't do this or the staff doesn't do this. I can look at my 2 evaluations reports, put them together and say, voila, one was weak, one was strong. Based on the combined data, it's going forward or not going forward. Am I saying that right?
Yes.
Okay.
So you pick one.
Yeah.
Pick one.
We can. Oh,
You're
okay.
constantly bringing stuff down. So you're constantly taking out the stuff that you don't want to come forward for the discussion.
Right. And Ed is right. So, as you remember, I don't know if you've gotten this far. So one is going to come later. Maybe, I think a couple more are going to come for Gene. And they're going to be much stronger than this one.
Yeah, just because we look at this one and go, this submission does not give us the strength to score it on the rubric in a way that would honor the person that Gene was. Thankfully, we have other submissions that are going to do that work for us, and we can move that forward as we deem appropriate.
Good. All right. I'm I'm just looking at hands. I don't want to omit anybody. So, well, that was just what I thought we could do as a pretest, begin that discussion, try to make it live and in color, so to speak. I hadn't picked out how many we would try to go through, but I do want to just pick up one or two more because and maybe identify other categories. So I'm just going to go through my list here. So that was significant geographical. We looked at prominent local, prominent national. I don't know, Barb, if you could just stop at something prominent national. Martin Luther King. Okay, stick with that one. Here again, individual or group submitting it is given. Name of the school, Martin Luther King Jr. Elementary. Category, prominent national, okay. All right, here we get into if the proposed name is a prominent local or national figure who is deceased, describe why this person is considered prominent. Remember, prominent is defined as widely and popularly known. Okay, he led the civil rights movement of the 1960s. Don't disagree. He did do that. So that makes him prominent, right? Then if the proposed name is a prominent local or national figure who is deceased, what is the significance of the person specifically to the Madison Metropolitan School District that it should choose to name a school for this particular person over others? Martin Luther King Jr. Was the most prominent civil rights leader in the 60s. Don't disagree. Because the population of this new school consists largely of Black and brown students, and because the school is being built as a neighborhood school, so the students don't have to be bused several miles away, it seems very fitting to name it after him. I don't think anyone would question why the school had become. Now, this rationale, well written, just caused me to ask questions that I can't answer. I'm not sure that the school is going to be largely made up of Black and brown students. I don't know that. So when questions like this come up, can I ask Gail to do the research and tell me? Or maybe I can go online and look at public school data, and it would give me the geographic makeup and so forth, so forth.
Okay, I think there's
Questions of
two
Gail.
things in there. Yep.
Which
Gail
is?
is going to give you significant information about, I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay, so Gail is gonna give you significant information that will probably more than help you figure that out.
Okay,
Also, you know, trying to figure out what people are, you know, trying to tie them to the MMSD. For some people that's gonna be easy, for some people it's not. So that again is gonna be, you know, committee discretion, I think. But you know, she'll do the best she can to give you any information that we can find that ties them to the MMSD directly or indirectly. Have they visited? Were they ever here? Did they work with somebody at the MMSD? Did they do something in Madison? Anything like that, and she'll be able to find that for you and put that on your information sheet.
okay. So that'll be helpful. Yep, that'll be helpful. Okay.
Gail, did you
go
want to
ahead.
add something to that, Gail? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Just a minute. I have to become invisible and revisible again. It would be helpful to, when you get to that point, I don't necessarily do the research that links them to Madison School District or Madison,
Okay.
with Martin Luther King. I would probably want that to be a special ask. Mm, I'm also thinking of just time. At some point, you're going to be weeding out quite a few people. So if I spend a lot of time trying to, you know, the ones that are local, I guess they're linked to Madison just by virtue of being local. The
Okay,
national ones, y- you can make us, I don't want to use any examples. Some of them are educators. And so I suppose they're linked by virtue of subject matter in what they're doing. But that you're kind of asking me to make some judgment calls on that. So, but if you there's one in particular that you want me to try to find some link with Madison on, I can try to see if I can do that. But I think that would be better if you get down to, after you've eliminated quite a few people,
and
you
then
get
got it. Okay,
right, yeah, and that person is, is wavering or something that you have, that's a specific ask, okay?
okay,
And that would go through Barb, you would ask Barb, and then I would
you
do
would
it.
follow.
Yeah, otherwise I think I'd be spending a lot of time on people that may not make a cut, right? Yeah, yeah. Does that sound like something that'll
Well,
work?
Well, that's the group, but sounds reasonable to me that it helps build out the process for me.
Okay.
Yeah. But Ben has a question for you.
Just to offer to the group or to question the value as we kind of set a precedence as we, look at
Yeah.
statements like these that are being made in the proposals, to kind of just look at as a group from the onset the demographics and acknowledge that as Alice Elementary, they were a Title I school since 2003, that we can see the demographics are certainly heavily Hispanic and African American, those kinds of things. Does it make sense for us as a committee to take 2 minutes and know those things, or is that superfluous beyond the specifics of the recommendations? I don't know. Barb, maybe you can guide us in that.
Yeah. Well, I
So,
think
I'm sorry, Ben, go ahead. I'm thinking about that, but would you please restate that? Because I just heard from somebody that didn't get the whole audio thing. So please restate that question, please.
Yeah, so just some of these recommendations are going to have specificities like this one. Does it make sense for us as a committee to just take a moment to look at the demographics, the basic set that, as Alice Elementary in 2003 became a Title I school, that they, the demographics are largely Hispanic and African American, just to know that so that we don't have to keep asking that question as we reference these various things, or is that superfluous to our work?
I think that's good information to any naming. Any information that you have about the school is relevant when it comes to their population. So we can give you more information on that too, Ben. Is that what you're asking? Do you want more
Right. Yep.
about
I,
the
as a parent,
composition of
I as a
Southside?
parent, I know these things, but I don't
Yeah.
want to assume that everyone else does.
Okay. So yes, yeah, we can give you more information about Southside as it stands right now, yes.
Gotcha. So, but one of the proposals I read said that now Southside is really the former Alice, and you have to. This is where I get mixed up. Is now where was Alice located? Because I know it's in a new location. So where was that, Ben?
Yeah. So Frank Alice Elementary was on Buckeye Road, which is now
Okay.
where Nuestro Mundo is in that physical location.
All right.
So the Frank Alice building has been on Buckeye Road. And then now that student population has moved to what we now know as Southside Elementary off of Badger.
Oh,
So now were the children from Rimrock and area going to that
Correct.
school prior? So they were being bused there.
Correct.
Now
So
they're
now
okay.
Now it's a neighborhood school. And whereas we were new to the neighborhood here, and our kids were some of the only neighborhood kids attending the school.
Okay.
And the folks were,
Right.
the rest of the kids were being bused. So now it's the same population of students,
Okay.
just a different geographical location that's actually in their neighborhood now.
Gotcha. All right. Oh.
So, I'm sorry, there's a couple people in this meeting right now, administrators that could, if they want to add some information about that, they can.
Sure.
I'm not sure
Sure.
if we're prepared to do that right now, or if we want to do that at a later time. That's up to them. Dr. Abby and Carlette or
and
Stanford.
so both or either.
Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
So I'm Anu Ebi, for those of you I haven't met yet. Thanks for having me. I can get you exact numbers, but what Ben and everybody lifted earlier, that our students at Southside are mostly Black and African American and come from Hispanic heritages and Spanish speaking families is true. But I can get the exact numbers for you the next time, or even, by tomorrow. Would that be okay for you? Okay.
Oh, yeah. That's fine.
Appreciate it.
That's
Thank you.
fine. Okay. All right. Okay, Ed, you had a question? Oh, you good? Okay. Well,
Thank you,
we're-
Ben, for sharing that information. Thank
That's
you, Ben.
helpful. That is helpful. Just looking around, and like I said, I had two others that I wanted to follow. I'd like to look at one of the proposals for Lori Mann. Barb, if you could
Okay,
put it back up and just land on any of the proposals for Lori Mann. And while you're doing that, it sounds like a lot of people know her. I don't. So I'm going to rely on you all as part of this pretest to just speak a little about what you know about Lori Mann. But when Bob lands on one, we'll follow it like we did the others. Look at who submitted it, what name they're giving it, and so forth and so on. So and I don't know where you're going to start running into them, Barb. Let's see if my list. Where do my first one? He shows up as.
I got
35.
114.
I got 35. There's one. This is just
That's
one. Gotcha.
Okay.
So we do have the person submitting it, name given. Here it's identified as Lori Mann Elementary. What category? Prominent local. And there was so many repetitive statements, and I'm assuming they're facts about her in many of the other proposals. But this one says, wait a minute. Okay, and this is one of the children. All right, that's fine. My mother, Lori Mann Carey, was a former student of Badger Rock Elementary School, Madison treasure, leader and anti-racism agitator, pushing to hold systems accountable for delivering a quality education to all students across Madison. Her good energy went into creating spaces for Black students, where Black students can thrive in every sense of the word. Lori founded the nonprofit Mission 4. That's referred to a lot. I don't know what that is, so that's one where I think I'd have to learn a little bit. I'm assuming it's an after-school or weekend skill building program, academic skill building program, where she led an after-school, I must have remembered that, enrichment program that provided a suite of culturally sensitive, interconnected supports such as tutoring, intentional motivational messaging, parent-family engagement, meals, and more, to help address long-standing academic disparities in Madison public schools. Now that's a plural. So that made me think that she was a really activist all day, all night. She also served for decades as head of the Mann Educational Opportunity Fund. Never heard of it. Which focuses on addressing Black student graduation rate disparities in Madison public schools through mentoring, support, education too. So is there more to this one? That statement, Barb?
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
yeah, it is, right? Thought so. All right, and it goes on to the next one. My mother created and executed Mission 4.0, an after-school program held at, now I remember that, West High School, to help raise the GPAs and graduation rates of Black and Brown children. She was one of the founders of the Mann Education Opportunity Fund, a program to help give scholars resources to help them get to college. She was also an education warrior and an amazing mother, more than 9 children. She was a mother in Southside. So it sounds like this person was really loved, respected, and endeared by the community. And that was kind of mixed thought I had. Now who knows her and whether or not she was she a teacher, ever a teacher?
No,
No, but she was in the schools. Go ahead, Ed.
no. She was very prominent in the community on the south side of Madison. Uh, she she was very uh, active uh, with the school. She took up the battle with fighting for her own children in the school system itself. Now, that's just a little history that I do know, but other than
Right.
that, yeah. So she was not an educator though.
Okay, gotcha. But quite a few people loved her and did her and supported her. So I'm just looking at that one. But remember, we're gonna because when you take the totality of those submissions, you get a much broader picture of who she was. And my question to the group was, when we talk about prominence and how the board has decided it, was she well known outside of South Madison as prominently as presented in the submissions? Don't answer that. That's just a thought coming through as we go through the process. And that would be part of when we have the deliberation. Let's say that this name comes forward as one of the final four. That's what we will have the discussion as to moving it on forward and so forth and so forth. All right.
My question is, we're going to go through each one of these because there's more than one Lori Mann, and of course you know that. And some says Lori Mann Carey Elementary School, you know, the name itself. How are we going to decide? You know, I
I think
mean,
So the
that we
same
get-
thing happened with Bill Phillips Bill Phillips
yeah,
for the high school at Memorial. So we
Okay.
went with her legal name. We used her legal name.
Oh,
okay,
the legal name.
okay, okay.
Gotcha. That makes sense. All right. Even though there may be variations submitted.
Yes.
I got you. All right, because there are. All right. Well, I wanted to at least touch base on that one because it does seem to have, well, not does seem to, it has more submissions than any other. So there had to be great love and respect for that individual in the community. So, all right. So those are the things that I wanted to run through as part of this precursor pre-test. So let's open it up to see if you all had any specific proposals that you wanted to address tonight for conversation and discussion purposes. While Barb has them up there. And I'm just going through my list again here. All right. Because there are a lot of intriguing, interesting individuals. Some I know, many I know, and some I don't know. But there are a lot of good people who have been recommended here. And a lot of good locations and geographic sites that have been located. So it just made me think, we got a tough task, you all. But we're up to the challenge. I think we're up to the challenge. All right. If there are no more, then Barb, you can certainly stop sharing. And I would just drive home this question. Later in the agenda, we're going to be talking about setting a meeting schedule, firm meeting schedule, and hopefully using that schedule to drive our work to complete these reviews, complete the deliberations, complete the discussion, and get to the recommendation. And we'll talk about that later in the agenda. But for purposes now, as we get there, it doesn't appear that we're at the point where we can begin to bring forth our rubrics, but let's be prepared at our next meeting to really start filling in that rubric and having these discussions based on what we've learned tonight. So having said that, I'm going to return to the agenda, which is the next item. Well, first of all, go Ben, questions, follow-ups on this particular agenda item.
I may have missed it at the first meeting that I was not present at, so forgive me. In conjunction with the like the document we were just reviewing,
All right.
and then knowing like we have the extra documentation, like the letter of support from Tony Evers.
Yep.
How do we consider those kind of third party pieces in relationship to the actual submissions.
Public input, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr. Jones, did you want to
No,
start?
no, no, I was calling on you.
Okay, thank you. So the public input is just, extra information, Ben. It doesn't matter who the letters come from or who they're talking about. That is public input, just like the other public input that we get on the website from anybody else. I just wanted it to be included there because that's where it keeps following the committee as you move through your work. It's for the public to be able to see that those are out there. It's for the public to see that the public input is there and that we keep updating that. That is a legal requirement that, well, it's not a legal requirement. We do in Madison always include public input for these committees all the way through. And as we get toward the end, we will also have public appearances at some of your meetings as you get down to, you know, the few that you have left. And then
Okay.
you'll have people coming in to make a statement, but it is not a dialogue. It is not anything that we respond to, but we do share it with you throughout the process.
Okay,
So when we would get, say we would get to, the final four, and one of those four has public input tied to it, would that really be the appropriate time to, I guess, knowing that we've got multiple submissions, associating that public input to a specific submission is difficult because of the multiple submissions for the same things. So I'm just trying to understand at what point that comes into that.
So you
should
kind
be
of carry
into our
it with
dialogue.
you.
Got it now.
I'm sorry. I didn't want to speak over you.
no, I was gonna say, we have the public input now.
Yeah.
That's already out there, so we can read those letters and so forth, right?
Yeah.
So, so I've already read them, so we already know what Tony Evans was saying and why he was recommending, yeah, we ought to do this kind of thing. But I think, Ben, I'm just gonna lay the question out, and I hear you raising it. You also asking what type of influence these public supporters would play? Now that gets into what I call the quasi-political, and I'd rather stay out of that and say, I'm just going to treat it as a regular
Yeah, because I guess I'm
letter
just
of
trying to.
support from anybody, so to speak.
Yeah, like what is the ethic of letting that influence? When there's a submission process
Right.
that people follow, does a letter make a submission more? Where does it fit in the rubric?
Gotcha. Yeah. Oh, it doesn't fit in the rubric as I understand the process. However,
That's right.
It's intended to influence you so you can affect the rubric. So that's how I look at it. Good point, man.
And whenever that
That's helpful.
happens throughout the process, because you can't control when
Right.
that public input comes in.
Right.
You
Right.
know.
Good point. Okay, no, but that's a good one to think about in terms of how it affects the process. All right. Okay. So though that's what I have so far. Any follow-up questions, thoughts on the deliberations before we go to the next agenda item? I want to give everybody a chance, full chance to have that discussed. But before we do that, I want to do a bounce back and say, Barb, do we have a quorum to approve the June 17 minutes?
I'm sorry, we do not. I have
I'm
a
looking
count
around
of
saying, yep,
5.
I think we don't. We're one shy of having a formal quorum, but this discussion is for our benefit, and we took no action in it. Recommendations. Gotcha.
It's also being recorded and will be shared and will be posted. So
Okay.
yes.
All right. So we want to talk a bit about next meetings. So we're going to have a discussion a bit about setting our meeting date, fixing it to your calendars, and then hopefully having you attend them. So we now will go back to, here we go. I think Bob wrote them down. Here we go. Yep. For the next meeting dates. So what we talked about was having the meeting on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, and making it either weekly or bi-weekly. So let's open up this conversation with this. What's your preference in terms of scheduling, weekly or bi-weekly? Let's start with that one. Regardless of the day, how do you like that cycle? Weekly, bi-weekly?
I like bi-weekly.
Okay, that's Charles.
I'll second bi-weekly.
All right. Even
And
though we're making a recommendation here. Yep. Okay, but I need to hear from everyone, so at least we'll know what you think. Go ahead, Ed.
Bi-weekly.
Okay, so that seems to be who we're missing then. Wait a minute, and that's certainly I like bi-weekly myself. So how about it, Keisha?
Oh, yes, I agree also, bi-weekly.
All right, okay. So we have a cycle. Now it's going to be the day of the week, the Tuesday, the Wednesday, Thursday. Let me just say, who all likes the Tuesday? Raise your hands. That'll be quicker. How about that? Let me go back because I want to get everybody. So you up to that's basically everybody there. All right. Okay. You've answered that question quickly. Bi-weekly Tuesdays. And I was telling Barb that for me, the third and fourth Tuesdays are problems for me because I have NAACP meetings that third Tuesday and the fourth Tuesday starting at 6:30. But it depends on when we schedule. So if we're talking bi-weekly, Barb, if you have a calendar, and I can turn to an old school calendar, and we say that we met tonight on the 14th, bi-weekly would be Tuesday, the 29th.
29th, that's right.
That would be the 29th.
Also,
Actually, and that would be the 5th Tuesday. Yeah, so that would work for me in terms of my obligations for the third and fourth Tuesday.
I was
So
gonna say if that is complicated for you, Thursdays work just as well as Tuesdays for me. I don't know if that's true for others. Wednesdays do not work for me. But before we lock you into a Tuesday that you can't get to.
nope, I'm good. But
All
that
right.
Tuesday would work. So and then
Wonderful.
I think I'm just following it through. If we set our next meeting for October 29th, what we didn't say was time. How does this time work out for you all, the 6 o'clock time? Was that reasonable? Okay, that looks good. Okay, so the 29th of October would be our next meeting. And then we would go to November the 19th.
12th?
Okay, now that's the third. That's one of my conflicts. The third Tuesday of November is the 19th. That would be the exec committee for me. So that would be a problem. 5/12. So we might need to.
The
That would-
12th though, I'm sorry,
The 12th
Greg,
would
are
be
you
good,
saying
but
that
that
the
tweaks the
19th
cycle.
Sorry.
But the 12th would work for me.
yeah, the
but
Yeah,
it
the
12th
12th would be bi-weekly, right?
Yeah, yeah. So
Oh,
that's a
I
little,
went 1 week too long then.
yes, you did, yeah.
Oh,
that's
good.
yeah,
Hey, so
yeah.
you see what happens when groups come together? All right, so that would work. So at least we would be prepared for the next 2 meetings. And that should get us through the review of all of the apps and into the scoring and ranking. Closer to the recommendation.
Yeah, the
Okay.
next one would be the 26th. I'm not sure when Thanksgiving is this year. I gotta look at
Oh,
that.
yeah, that would be the next one. Yeah, sure is.
That's not gonna work for me.
The
Okay.
12th would work for you?
The 26th.
Okay,
Okay.
right. Yeah,
So we'll make that decision when you get there, but you have 2 meetings right now. That's very helpful. We'll
that
go
we
with
could
that.
get going.
Okay, we'll
How's
start.
that? Go ahead, Ed.
Yep. We'll make
Yeah,
that decision later.
The 29th. And are we gonna keep with the 6 o'clock time?
I think the 6th worked for everybody.
Okay,
All right,
I got that on my calendar now.
so you're
And-
good?
Yeah.
All right,
I will
And-
send Google Calendar invites to everybody for those 2 dates.
okay.
Thank you.
And let's get back to Barb as soon as we can, to lock them in so that the other members who couldn't attend at least know where we're going and begin to prepare and fix the calendars as need be. Okay, good. All right, that helps us out, guys, in terms of getting organized and getting this work plan together. So you all have been quite deliberate tonight. So that's good. All right, and I'm just following the agenda. Oh, wait a minute. We've reached the adjournment stage and we have, I'm just doing a bounce back. We can't approve the minutes. We didn't have a quorum, so we'll table the minutes until our next meeting. But I guess as we close out, I'm gonna ask, I don't know, you don't have to respond. I'm just gonna ask you all to respond to, I'm probably the oldest person in the group here. I'm gonna take liberty and say, when I think about the naming of a school,
Greg, you're not the
oh, uh, let me be the oldest one for the next 2 minutes. Uh, I think about this in naming a school, and we just take a moment. Feel free to respond to it. The name of a school should be fresh today, but relevant tomorrow. The name of a school should be fresh today, but relevant tomorrow. And who we haven't heard from tonight, we're going to bring in all voices. We haven't heard from Carletra. We haven't heard from Demetra. So, Demetra, the naming of a school, or the school name.
Sir, I will pause you. I will rather not be a participant. I'm learning lots of things. I'm
Okay,
learning
that's
all
fair.
things.
We
I
don't
need
want to
be
leave you out.
typing and taking the notes.
We don't want to leave you out. So let's move to Carletra. Did we lose her?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I think it's unusual, Mr. Jones.
Oh, there she is.
To have the
There
staff.
she is. Okay. And I understand if you say I'm staff and I ain't in it. But just thought going forward. Okay.
I was going to say, so because I am staff and because of my position and because it has to be a school-based decision,
All right.
I can't provide input.
All right. And
But I
same for
appreciate you
Dr.
including
Anu.
me in the conversation.
All right. Same for you, Dr. Anu. Okay. All right. Let's go with the members. How about it, Alkeisha?
Well, I think you said it very well. You know, we do want to have memories of the past, but as well as something really fresh that we're going through today. And so it can be the past of remembrance from the newcomers, right?
All right.
I really do believe that, as well as we really want to just be for that is it makes a lot of sense to people. Like I feel like I feel like we're saying we're starting to talk about some names and it's just like, who is that person? What is that person? Like, you know, and I want it to be where people can actually really understand who that person was, or, you know, area or so forth, like what it really stands for.
Right.
And I think that's just really important, is just being able to translate that information moving forward.
I got you. So
Thanks.
keeping it moving, Ed. What do you think?
I'm in agreement with her. I think so. It has to have significance to the students themselves. You got to think about what they do. I used to have pride in my school, what I was at, and the name was significant for me. And that name should be that way to the students as well. And I think they probably will pick up on it when you give them history of what that name is. So yeah.
All right. Keeping it moving. All right, Chuck. Followed by Ben. Okay.
I agree. And as a parent of, you know, a student that's at Southside at the moment, I think it is something special for us parents to be part of our students' lives as well, you know, and seeing them grow and seeing the school grow, and also not forgetting about our past, but also moving forward to better things.
All right. This is good thoughts, y'all. And Ben, how you doing?
Yeah, and I think the only thing I would add to any of that is just the sense that I could tell you the name of my elementary school. It was named for a person. I absolutely cannot tell you. Thanks, buddy. His mind is blown. I cannot tell you beyond the individual's name, I can't tell you what their significance was. And so
Okay.
I think there's value in introducing students to a name they may not yet have known, but that it be a name that they are proud to know and to learn and carry with them. I think there's value in introducing potentially something new, but that they know what that is and they know why a group of people took time out of their lives to sit around and go, this is the name we want these kids to associate with.
Beautiful. All right. Well, this is, I only wanted to close out on this because, like I said, I keep thinking about the name. What is it? Why was it chosen? What does it reflect? What does it motivate? What does it inspire? That kind of a thing. Because I don't know about you all, but when you think about naming children, and parents who name children took great pain in choosing that name, applying to that kid, hopefully that they'll live up to it. But I don't think I've ever lived up to my name, which was given to me in 1952 by Adlai Stevenson. You all don't know him, some of you young folk, but he was running for president that year. And he came through a Silver Cross Hospital in Joliet, Illinois. My mama was in there 4 o'clock in the morning, walking the halls, campaigning. And she asked him, he asked her, what's his name? She said, I picked a middle name, Charles, but I don't have a first name. He said, call him Gregory. And so she took that name, put it together. So there's a story in the name. And I kept saying, will I ever live up to being half named by Adlai Stevenson? He ran for president, didn't win, but he was out there. Anyway, I want to thank each and every one of you for your time and talent tonight. We're going to go by Barb and say, are there any missing links here tonight, or are we ready to adjourn?
Did very well. Thank you so much. I think we're done.
All right, hearing none, I'm going to ask each and every one actually ask for a motion to adjourn, even though it's not official, but it's not debatable. So could I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
All right. And all you need is a second. All right.
I'll second it.
I
Yeah,
second.
all right. Good. Thank you all again and appreciate it. Let's look forward to the next meeting. Roll up our sleeves, read this proposal, and let's come ready to fight next time. All right. Be good and be safe, everybody. Take care. All right.
Thanks, everyone.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.